This is The Toss-Up, where an expert-line panel dissects the hottest stories within the world of sports, from some of the nation's strongest college programs right here in Bloomington to the games and moments that captures the world's attention. It's all right here on The Toss-Up. College football is right around the corner here in Bloomington, and many other people around the country, it's already underway for them. College basketball isn't too far off either after COVID-19 shut down the season just before March Madness. College sports fans have largely been deprived of that madness, and as much as I hate to say it, they might have to wait a little bit longer. The college atmosphere likely won't be the same as we continue to fight this pandemic, but let's not dwell too much on that. Let's think back to the good old days when fans could pack into student sections and just go crazy. So this week on The Toss-Up, we're not here to analyze teams or matchups. We're here to get a little more casual with it, as we're set to discuss the best of college sports off the field. So hello everybody and welcome to the show. I'm Drew Fry, and joining me on the panel we've got Caleb Kaufman and Mike Moskluck, and we're here to talk about everything off the field, the behind the scenes of college sports, and just the environment, the atmosphere. So Caleb, I want to start with you. Some of these overarching traditions that are so rooted in college football, college basketball, just the sports world in general. What do you think fans are missing the most right now as we continue to take more of a locked-in approach?
I got to say it's those early morning wake-ups for a night game. Nothing's like getting up at 6 a.m., getting ready to go, making sure you have all your tailgating food, everything you need, probably forgetting something and having to go back. And then you're at tailgate fields or a parking lot for like 12 hours just with your friends and having a great time. And also, you can't forget the outfits. Either while here at IU, you have candy stripe overalls. I'm not too proud to say I have a pair. You have people painting their chests. Just whatever you can imagine college students wearing, it's going to be in the stadium. And that's something I miss.
So to clarify, I don't know if this slipped, but you said sending me back for something? Or are you just that designated person that you have to go back for everything that's been forgotten?
I'm real bad at rock, paper, scissors, so yeah, it's usually me.
How are you bad at rock? Never mind. So Mike, what are some of these overarching traditions that are just such a part of college sports that we may not be seeing now, but we'll hopefully get back to in the future?
I mean, for me personally, I'm such a huge college football junkie. Like, I can't get enough of it. I love it. And so one of the biggest things that I've been missing is, as Caleb said, the tailgating. You kind of, even if you're not at a tailgate, you drive by, maybe you walk by. Even if you're like 3 or 4 blocks away, you just feel that energy. There's that feeling in the air. It's, oh man, it's a football Saturday on campus, or even a basketball game early in the season when there's nice weather. It's like, oh, like we've got a good one today. And it kind of feels a little bit different without that feeling. That's kind of, to me, what college sports is all about. And so I'd say you're really missing kind of the tailgating, obviously, as Caleb said, but more specific to college football, something that sticks out to me is so many teams, and it's huge in Ole Miss with walking through the Grove, or at Clemson, they take the buses around the stadium and then do it as they walk down the hill. And it's how many teams walk through their fans, either going into the stadium or right as they're about to take the field. And it's that sort of connection between the fans and the teams. And to me, that's what makes college sports so great, is that connection that you have.
Can't forget, too, got to have Surrender Cobras. We're missing out on a lot of Surrender Cobras with not as many fans around and less games.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing that, Mike, that you touched on is just everyone sort of coming together in that team. That's why I know the SEC's had a little bit in terms of student sections, but just being a part of the student section where you become one unit as a group of fans. I mean, the amount of friends that I've made in a student section that I've never seen again after that game. Like, we're best friends for a good, 3-4 hours.
It's the best.
And then you move on, right?
Yeah.
Like, just being a part of that atmosphere is always so incredible. Just being, a part of those games. I love being a part of it.
And I think something that makes those student sections so great too is exactly what you said. You could not know the person, you could show up, you could never ask them their name throughout the whole entire game. But every time it's, oh, can you believe that call? Or, oh, let's go! And it's all those moments where you're sharing these incredible moments with some stranger you've never seen in your entire life. And you're going to leave that game, you might never see them again, right? You just had like an incredible 3 hours with your new best friend, you know, what's his face, and you go back and you're like, man, that was awesome. And that is really, like, as I was saying earlier, the beauty of college sports is you meet all these people who have that shared passion with you.
Yeah, one of my favorite memories, to get off on a little bit of an anecdote,
Yeah.
is it was an IU versus Penn State football game, and IU was losing by multiple scores late. It was freezing cold. Most of the stadium had cleared out. And there were maybe like 50 fans left, just like packed together in a student section. And for no reason, just the group of us started just like singing the fight song for Indiana, just trying to like get something up and going.
Yeah.
And you know what? Indiana still lost, but it was fun.
Of course.
It was a fun loss by the end of it, just because, I mean, I think Indiana scored shortly thereafter, and the group of us are like, I don't care if there's 50 of us. We're running on that field if Indiana pulls it off. And they didn't, but it was actually like being a part of that game and feeling like, you know, we were important. We had this one unity. I love being a part of that.
Nothing like the delusional hope of teams that, like, you're under 500, you're playing a top 25 team, you're down by 20 points already. And you're like, you know what? We're going to come back. We're going to come back, and all these people that left, they're not going to get to run on the field. It never happens, or almost never happens. I don't want to say never.
Right.
But that sense of, like, delusional hope and just wanting something awesome to happen as you have that memory, that's also something I miss.
Yeah, I love that word, delusional. And speaking of the delusional, I want to get a little more specific now. And so, Caleb, I'll start with you. But there are so many just iconic traditions, maybe some that are less known, maybe some that are incredibly widely known, but that are fairly unique to one university, one school, that's just become a part of their identity. What are some of your favorite traditions that you've seen around the country?
I'm going to go with jump around at Wisconsin. I've personally never got to experience it, but seeing it on TV and talking to either friends who've been to Wisconsin, go there, or even cover games at Wisconsin, it just seems like such an awesome atmosphere that it's a huge stadium. I have no idea how many it holds. It has to be
A lot.
It has to be close to 100,000, if not more. But just the whole stadium shaking. People say like it feels like the stadium might fall down.
Mm-hmm.
It's so loud, and like you feel the impact of everyone jumping. I wish we had something like that and I could experience it.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible.
So mine is actually similar but very different. And I want to look, which camera are we on? I want to look directly into it. Right here. Okay, I need you all to go home after you're done watching this and look up Virginia Tech enter Sandman. And I want you both to do this as well. Virginia Tech, Blacksburg, Virginia, is the most electric place for the beginning of a college football game you will ever see in your entire life. They play Enter Sandman by Metallica.
Of course.
And the whole stands, every single person, all 80-something, 100,000, however many it holds, jump up and down to the beat of Enter Sandman as Virginia Tech runs out through the tunnel. And like you said, everyone says the building is shaking, it's craziness. It's been actually registered as like an earthquake on the seismic charts. That's how insane people that are Virginia Tech fans get for Enter Sandman at the entrance. And it's incredible to see.
And some fun fact, the other however many minutes in a week that aren't being Enter Sandman's being played, Blacksburg is actually dead. So
Yeah. Nothing is happening in Blacksburg, Virginia if Enter Sandman is not on. I think that's a fact.
that you heard it here first. That is fact. That's going to be out there. Stories are coming out based on that
Apologies to
statement.
Blacksburg, Virginia.
Okay, so basically we're creating many earthquakes in both Wisconsin and in Virginia.
Of course.
Something on a much smaller scale, but also staying with some of these Power 5 schools, at least for the time being, is I remember reading that the Iowa Hawkeyes football team, the opposing locker room is just painted pink,
Yes.
head to toe. And at first it was meant to like, oh, we're going to try and get in the heads of the opposing team, dial down the aggression with a color that was deemed to be a little less aggressive. But they've sort of stepped it up to the point where you can't go anywhere in the opposing locker room that's not. You walk into your locker, it's bright pink. You go into the bathroom, urinals are bright pink. Like at that point, that's just psychological warfare.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
that's incredible.
It's so great because I grew up in Iowa. Some people know that. Quad Cities area. Shout out Bettendorf, Michael Tilka. And the story behind the locker room is one of the coaches met with, I believe it was a psychology teacher in the psychology department at the school. And he wanted the visiting locker room to make the other team like not ready to play. Whatever he could do to kind of throw them off their game. And so I guess from what I've read is he consulted with this teacher, and the teacher basically told him that if he painted the walls pink, the team would come out more subdued to play the game. And there was a study that the color pink did something with our brains to make the players like less engaged, which, like you said, it's incredible because you wouldn't even think like the color pink, but they thought it would make a difference.
I thought you were going the other way with Iowa with the Wave.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know about this whole pink business in their away locker room, so I'm all in on this. I'm not sure how it hasn't spread everywhere else.
And the wave is so great too. So the wave, I mean, end of the first quarter, they all turn and they wave to the Children's Hospital right there, and that's great. And it also reminds me, UAB, University of Alabama Birmingham. They're very close to what they do. They do a similar children's cancer type event, but they have a game, and they have jerseys, and every single player, their name on the back of their jersey is replaced with one of the kids who's battling cancer at the Children's Hospital. And so the whole idea is that the players are actually playing for the kids who have the cancer. And every single year they've done it so far, I believe it's on its third or fourth year, they just beat the living daylights out of whoever they play. Because apparently they go and visit the kids, they talk with whoever's on their jersey, and apparently it fires them right up. So kind of similar thing to that.
Yeah, if it works. And then right before we go to break, a couple other things that I at least want to throw out there. One, I just love that UPenn has the Toast to Old Penn, where they take it very literally and throw toast from their student
Love
section
it.
from around the stadium.
Incredible.
Speaking of tossing things out onto the court, I want to get into a little bit of NAIA, and I know that you'll have a little bit to say about this, but John Brown University has what's referred to as the greatest tech in sports. After their first basket of the season, they launch toilet paper. They TP their own court, get a technical foul. The other team gets the free throws, but that's how they start off every year. And then I know someone wants to talk about the Silent Night.
Yeah, I mean, the Silent Night, I'll let Caleb
No,
take
you
it
can go
away.
for the Silent Night. So that's something else afterwards.
So generous.
So which school is it again?
It's Taylor University.
That's right. So it's Taylor University. They do the whole thing. It's called Silent Night, and the whole school, whoever goes to the game, it's dead silent until they score the first basket. And that can be crazy because I remember one year I watched the broadcast. It was like on a streaming service or something because obviously Taylor University, you're not getting them on ESPN. But
They should.
they missed like their first 3 or 4 shots. So you're getting like 3-4 minutes into the game, and you can start to hear like the fan section, are we going to make a basket today? Like, can we start talking? And then all of a sudden they make one and they start going crazy. So that one always kills me because you get the years where you have a bad shooting night and all of a sudden everyone's just dead silent.
See, that would be my nightmare because I personally don't think I can be quiet for like 4 minutes of silence if like the team's not making a bucket. I'd be the one to mess the whole thing up and like be like, just score already. And everyone's like, God, be quiet, please. So thank goodness I'm not there to ruin their experience once a year.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
That doesn't surprise me, Caleb. Like I appreciate your enthusiasm there, but I am picturing that now. It would go poorly. But on that note, we're going to go and head over to a break. But coming up after the break, we've got more to talk about: some music, some mascots, some fans, plenty more. So make sure you stick with us. Welcome back to the Toss-Up. Now we're here to talk about the college sports experience. Not so much on the field, but more off. So welcome back to the show. And as we get started here, Caleb, I'll start with you. We're going to talk about some of the stadiums, some of the arenas that are just so iconic around the country that fans just pack in day and night. What do you think are some of these top stadiums that if you're a visiting team, you do not want to be playing there?
One of the ones that always comes to my mind is Ben Hill Griffin, or the Swamp for Florida, for people that don't know the actual name. But the stadium it's massive to begin with, but fans are so close to the actual field compared to some of the other college football stadiums where it's spread out and really tall. But the Swamp is more compact and kind of bowls itself a little bit. And it's just so loud in that stadium that so many SEC schools complain that you actually have to go silent count for so much of the game because you just can't communicate. Defense has no idea what they're doing on their side of the ball because that's pure communication. You got to find out your assignments. It just makes it so much harder to play, especially the years when Florida was an elite program, a little bit less so now, but the Tebow years, it was almost impossible to win down there.
Yeah, Ben Hill Griffin's an incredible stadium.
Yeah, and I mean the Tebow years, you're dead on. We're at good luck going in there and trying to beat Tim Tebow. It was insane. For me, I mean, how can you leave out the Death Valleys, right? Clemson and LSU. It seems if you're in the South and your team is a Tiger, you have to call yourself Death Valley.
I think that is the rule.
I think that's the rule.
Missouri
Auburn, we got to talk to Auburn. But, I mean,
Missouri.
They're great. Don't get me wrong, nothing against Death Valley. But for me, the two maybe hardest places to play that I don't think get talked about enough in college football are Texas A&M, Kyle Field. It's not talked about because A&M isn't maybe even not the best team in Texas, definitely not the best team in the SEC. But if I recall, well, yeah, Money Time Manziel, different story. But I believe it holds something like 110,000 people. They'll do the midnight yell the night before, and then they show up in absolute chaotic mode on the Saturday. So Kyle Field. But if I really have to say, by far, when their team is at its top, like you were saying with Tebow in Florida, Neyland Stadium at Tennessee, when it's feeling like 98 and you got either T. Martin or Peyton Manning or whoever back there, they're playing Rocky Top every 15 seconds.
Ooh, don't tempt me with singing it.
And you got over 100,000 people singing every single word to it. I mean, anyone who watched the Gator Bowl this past year saw how chaotic it can get when they have all their people singing Rocky Top. And if you go to a home game where it's every single person in the building singing it, I've heard opposing players say they just can't think straight sometimes when they get out on the field after a big play and everyone's screaming Rocky Top. They'll get out there and they'll I don't know what down it is. I don't know where we are on the field. I don't know what's going on.
Looking like Tom Brady out there pulling up as a fourth down. Is it fourth down?
Where are we doing? Yeah.
Oh,
and
man.
so I'd have to say, I mean, the Swamp and Neyland Stadium their teams might not always dominate the SEC, but good luck going in there and getting an away win.
They've never lost a home crowd.
Yeah.
Just like a tailgate.
Yeah. No,
You might
that's
lose the
completely fair.
game. You won't lose your home crowd.
Exactly. And then we can move up north a little bit. Obviously, you've got within the Big Ten, the Big House. I mean,
Right.
Ohio State's always going to be packed, especially against Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite, I can't call it an experience because I haven't been there in person, but a Beaver Stadium whiteout
Yes.
is practically blinding.
Yes.
Just the amount of cooperation and just support that brings is absolutely incredible. But flipping over a little bit to some basketball stadiums, of course, we're here in Bloomington, Indiana. We can't not mention Assembly Hall.
Right.
But Caleb, I know a place that you're a little familiar with is Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Do love Cameron Indoor.
The Cameron Crazies are just next level in terms of basketball fans affecting the game.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
They're so close. They're literally able to touch the players on that student section sideline opposite the bench. When they're trying to inbound, you can literally touch the players if you're in that front row. Opponents, staffs and everything just complain all the time that every once in a while they'll get flicked in the back of the neck, and it honestly makes them freak out sometimes. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a Duke game and opposing assistant coach ends up getting a technical for his team because the crowd gets in their way and they just turn around and yell at the student section, and that's all the ref needs. And also, kind of circling back with Cameron, with when we were talking about experiences, Krzyzewskiville, outside, students camping out all winter. It is North Carolina. It's not the coldest place, but it still snows every once in a while. And those kids are usually out there pretty much from December until end of February trying to get a UNC ticket, and you have to be there. Someone has to be in your tent 24/7 to get one. So those are all crazy stadiums for basketball.
Oh, yeah, and speaking of people or even characters that are constantly out there, rain, shine, no matter the weather, something that's very close to my heart is mascots. I don't know why I have a weird obsession with college mascots or even at a professional level, but there are just some incredible mascots in college sports. And Mike, I'll let you speak to a few of what you think are some of the top tier of mascots that just really stand out.
So for me, I'm actually very specific about how I tier my mascots, and I think it's a lot different than everyone else. For me, there's the live mascots,
No, that's correct.
and then there's everyone else. And so it's because Sebastian the Ibis at Miami, very cool. Brutus the Buckeye, nah. Sure, some people love him. I hate him because of Ohio State, but I understand why people love Brutus. The Duck at Oregon, I always forget his name.
I think he's just the Oregon Duck.
Maybe just the Oregon Duck. But for me, it's Bevo at Texas. It's Ugga the Bulldog at Georgia. It makes no sense because their name's the Tigers, but that stupid bird of prey that Auburn lets go of before their games. It's Mike the Tiger. For me, the cream of the crop. It's the live mascots do it for me.
I can understand that. Caleb?
Mike, you are right. Mike the Tiger is number one.
Yeah.
Like, I remember reading a story. LSU spent a stupid amount of money on his habitat that's on campus, like I believe it's in the center of their campus or at the stadium. It's
Right at the stadium. Yeah.
Right at the stadium. Like, it's a huge part of their athletic department budget is for Mike the Tiger's enclosure. So I think it's the biggest enclosure in the entire state or something.
Yeah, for wildlife, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, that's crazy. I disagree, though. Brutus, I think it's hilarious. And that dude is so athletic, or whatever iteration of Brood Eye we're on. So
Yeah,
that's
some 5'10" guy named Cody is athletic, or
super,
whoever it is.
super athletic
inside.
dude.
No, the
flips.
physical tree nut itself is athletic. We should.
Okay, my bad.
Yes.
It works out. But one of my favorites is actually from A&M Reveille, where it's actually the highest ranking member of the cadet corps at A&M.
Oh yeah.
And fun fact, it's caretakers. It goes with them wherever it goes. If the dog barks at any point during the day in a class, the class is automatically dismissed, and they have to stand up, salute the dog, and walk out of the room silently.
That is
A&M's got some
incredible.
weird stuff going on, I will say. The fact that they follow that dog and everything, it's like, I love it because that's college sports, but it is a little crazy.
That dog was once like kidnapped by like opposing fans or something, and the university like sent out a statement. They're like, if you don't realize this like grand theft, that dog is worth like, they quoted at like $7.5 million for the dog. They're like, and we will pursue all charges against you for that amount if you do not return the dog within like 5 hours.
It's crazy.
That's
It's seriously
amazing.
like, I mean, it's crazy, right? But
that's
that's how
college
much
sports.
that's how much those mascots and things mean to those teams too, right? Like, you don't really think about it, but that dog, like, to that fan base, like, maybe there is that, like, that's how much they love that mascot. I mean, Tennessee with their dog is insanity.
Smokey.
Like, everyone's all over it. Butler's Bulldog has its own, like, Twitter and Instagram and all those, right? Like, everyone just seems to obsess over those dogs, and I get it, but it's a little crazy.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, being crazy is a part of it.
Right.
One more that I just want to throw out there, just for the sake of the dedication and athleticism that has to go into wearing that costume, is St. John's University. Their bird, I believe it's a red hawk, while it's on the field or on the court, is constantly flapping its wings. It never stops flapping its wings. I do not have the arm strength to flap my wings for 30 minutes, let alone 4 hours.
Yeah.
I don't
know what sort of I want to know that guy's workout plan. Like, what
Is he
exercises
just
does
sitting
he
there
do for this?
like in the gym just doing
Yeah,
butterflies the whole
he's
time?
got dumbbells just up and down the whole time.
Yeah, but
That's incredible. Actually.
Yeah, so a ton of credit there. But, of course, moving on from the mascots, another part of just a vital part of the game, the stadium experience, is the music. And I know, Caleb, you mentioned Rocky Top. If you want to give it a go, have at it, but just any of these sort of songs that have become so iconic with certain teams.
I'll spare you guys and the viewers my beautiful singing voice of Rocky Top, even though it is great. And those, 7 minutes at the end of IU's football game, we heard it like 3 times, I think. So it's stuck in my head forever. But I'm going to go Dixieland Delight in Alabama is one of my ones that stick out in my mind. Just everyone's singing it. They have like the add-ins as well that they mix into the song. They're not family friendly to say on the show.
No.
But that's just one of the iconic songs you think about when you think of places singing in especially SEC football.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm glad you brought up singing in SEC football because like Alabama does the Dixieland Delight and Tennessee obviously has Rocky Top, and it's crazy because they all have their fight songs as well. But for me, it kind of like Rocky Top is great, obviously, but that's a fight song. Dixieland Delight really is kind of one of the great things. But enter Sandman for me. I mean, I've talked about it, Virginia Tech. It gives me chills. I'll go home and I'll just put on YouTube like Virginia Tech Sandman entrance, and I'll watch it like 5 or 6 times, and I'll be like, whoa, every single time. It's something about, that guitar chord at the beginning. It really it gets me going. I got to be honest with you. And the whole fans start like screaming the, I don't know, the rhythm, I guess you would say, the dun, 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 dun. They're screaming that as they're like jumping up and down. You can't get enough of it.
Oh, yeah. And one that I have to throw out, again, just being local, is my favorite part. Obviously, I enjoy watching my favorite sports teams win, yes. But win or lose, once Indiana basketball gets under the 8-minute mark or Indiana football hits the fourth quarter, it is the William Tell Overture.
Yes.
And that is one of the greatest timeouts in sports. And Indiana could be losing by 30 heading into the fourth quarter. That's actually a true anecdote. Indiana was losing heading into the fourth quarter of a football game, and immediately my morale just spiked with the William Tell Overture. That song just gives me a boost of energy. I love it. And just boosts of energy in general. Some songs that aren't even necessarily like a part of a certain culture that just get fans riled up. I mean, the amount of times I've heard Living on a Prayer or Sweet Caroline just really get a whole crowd into it.
Anytime those 2 songs, if your team's down by like a touchdown or like 5 points, that'll get the crowd back into it.
Yeah,
It's like clockwork.
You got to play the hits, right? You got to play Sweet Caroline to get the fans going. You got to play Take Me Home Country Roads to get everyone singing
Don't Stop Believing.
You got to play Don't Stop Believing. There's those certain songs that it's almost like you're a fan and you hear it come on and you go, yeah, we might be losing by 14, but like I have to sing along to this.
Exactly.
Like I have to get it. And as you mentioned, the William Tell Overture, it gets me going as an IU fan, and that jogged my brain. LSU, similar thing. They could be down 14, but they get any sort of play that's some sort of substance, and they're really giving it to the other team. They'll do what they say. They let the band play neck, and it's this very vulgar chant that the students will do along with this beat that the band does, but it's sort of their way of saying like, yeah, we're taking it to you right now, and the fans go crazy for it, and it's become like a LSU culture thing too. It's one of those. You'll see it on Twitter sometimes. If the team is off to a hot start, you'll see LSU fans start tweeting like, "Let the band play neck. Let the band play," because they only allow it certain times, right? Because it's such a big deal. It's to get so into it. So it's one of those things. As you're saying, there are certain things that the band can just play, and all of a sudden, like it doesn't matter where you are in the game. Like Rocky Top, William Tell Overture is saved for special occasions, but you play it, the student section, heads start popping up. It's, oh, what's going on? Like, oh, yeah, I'm back into the game. Okay, fire me up.
Exactly. I don't think I ever actually learned the words to Mr. Brightside. I just know that everyone knows the words to Mr. Brightside for that exact reason. And so to wrap up now, and Moose, I'll start with you. I want to throw out a big final question.
Okay.
I want you to find your happy place as a college sports fan, your ideal scenario. Doesn't matter what team you root for, what team any of these aspects correlate to.
Perfect.
But find in your best stadium, the best tradition, led by the best mascot. If you want to throw in the best song, have at it. What is peak in your sports life?
So I'm going to jumble the order. We're going to start off with the mascot, and our mascot is going to be Ralphie the Buffalo from Colorado. It's the most majestic of the live mascots.
I think it's dangerous. The amount of times you see on not top 10s,
it's
one of those
chaotic.
handlers just getting dragged across the field is outstanding.
It's part of the fun of Ralphie the Buffalo to me is you never really know what's going to happen when they lead him out onto the field, so you got to be watching. So he's our mascot. If we're picking a song, I'll go with Enter Sandman playing just the whole game. You aren't allowed to play anything but it, the whole game. And then we'll go tradition. Mississippi State isn't exactly dominant, but they're very deep in their traditions, and so I got to take the Mississippi State cowbell. There's something about everyone's just shaking it. It's annoying the living daylights out of the other fan base, but you and your whole fan base have been brainwashed into thinking it sounds incredible, and so you're just shaking it as hard as you can. And then, this is very important for my fan section. I'm not choosing one college's specific fan section. I'm choosing from every single fan section, and we're filling my stands with them. The guys who stand at the top of the stands and just scream down telling the coach what he should be doing every single play. So my fan base will be just filled with all the coaches in the stands, as I like to call them. The guys who, oh, you shouldn't have called that timeout here. You should have called it here. Or, oh, we're running a run-pass option. Well, I think we're more built for the I formation. So you know what? Take away this guy's scholarship. Give it to this guy. Fire this coordinator. I want all those guys in the stands shaking their cowbells, just going berserk.
That sounds chaotic and, frankly, a little scary. Caleb?
It'd be a good time, I think.
It would. I don't even know where to.
I'm not sure
That's
mine.
going to give me nightmares.
I'm not sure mine can top that. I don't think anything might be able to top that.
We needed to save you for last.
But I'm going to choose the big house purely for the size, just so you have the maximum number. I'm choosing Mike the Tiger, the actual tiger, not like the fluffy thing.
No, real deal.
I want that. I want just clones of him filling the stadium. So we got 110,000 tigers, and then I want them playing the song and doing Jump Around. So we just have 110,000 tigers jumping up and down in the big house. I don't know what could possibly be better, or like I'd be in heaven. That's literally what my heaven is like. Seeing Mike the Tiger jump around.
If you were so you're in the stadium with 100,000 tigers?
They're okay with me.
Because no, that might put you in heaven.
Yeah, they're there to there to support the
they're
team.
okay.
Drew. Come on. They'll just behave like regular SEC fans. So yeah, he might end up. In heaven. You're right. Okay, I admit you might end up.
Might need to mix in a few. Actually, now that I think about it, a few. The one super fan from Ohio State, the Big Nut.
Yes.
Might scatter him in there too, just for the image.
Okay.
I'd love for your school to play a road game at my school and just bring like maybe 5,000 of those tigers in for my guys with their cowbells, and we'll see how that goes.
All right, Drew, as the host of the show, I think you need to set this up somehow.
Okay, I'll find a way. I can definitely say this was not the path that I thought either of those were going to take. For myself, I can't top any of that. But at least I know you said jump around earlier. I'm going to build on that. I would, and something I touched on earlier was the Penn State whiteout game.
Yep.
Everyone, bright white T-shirts, pants, everything, all jumping around in that stadium, be it the big house or wherever it is. I think that would be absolutely incredible. I also think if that were led by a mascot that you may not expect, like the Nittany Lion is known for being able to lead the crowd.
Right.
But I would love to see like the Stanford Tree just lead.
Directing traffic.
Yeah. Or better yet, it's pure white. Everyone is jumping in a packed stadium, and you just see the little red blob, Big Red from Western Kentucky, is just jumping around with everyone else.
The guy who looks like he belongs at a McDonald's place. That'd be unbelievable to have him be the one leading the fans.
That is the perfect description of him.
Every time I see him, I think that guy belongs with the Hamburglar and Ronald McDonald.
I love it.
I think that fits. So we'll see if we can find a way to get our teams in any sort of contact. But
incredible.
I think it's a good
if
good sign.
LSU is out there, if you can make that happen for Mike the Tiger, and you're watching, let us know.
Fans at home, keep telling the coach what to do. He listens.
Keep tweeting.
On those beautiful notes, make sure that you don't listen to anything they just said. And that does do it for our show this week. So be sure to continue the discussion on our Twitter page at IUSTV Sports, on our Facebook and Instagram page at IUSTV Sports. You can always give any suggestions for the show. Tell us what you're doing, preferably with your cowbells, and ask any questions that you might have. So toss it up, find out if we'll catch it, and we'll see you next time.